Welcome to another episode of What the Fantasy, and I am Brandon Hay, and you can find me on Twitter at HeyB3. And as the last couple months we said, Zare is doing the film school, so he won't be on the pod probably up until after the draft. So I'm having a guest each week, and this week I have Steve Tomasin at Dynasty Santa. We both work at IDP Guys, so it's the IDP Guys takeover. So, Steve, thanks for joining. And I just want to ask you, where did you get your handle, Dynasty Santa?
Yeah. What's up, man? I'm glad to be here. So, yeah, that came from, it's basically based off of my Twitter avatar. So, a few years ago, I was living with my buddy, and we were just hungover watching football one day, and I kind of like passed out in the middle of the game. So he snapped a photo of me. It was close to Christmas time, and just on his phone, he did like some quick little Photoshop skills and like put me with like a Santa hat and wearing like a Santa like wife beater. It actually looked pretty damn good for doing it on his phone too. And it was just a really, really funny image. My head is like slumped back. Kind of think of like Homer Simpson when his like head tilts back. Like that's kind of what I looked like. And then just dressed as Santa. He even put it like into his like Christmas cards and stuff that he sent out. It was really funny. So I kind of just that's always been like my favorite picture, and I'm very self-deprecating. So I threw that up on Twitter. I was like, how can I relate this to fantasy football? Because that's kind of what I was going for, to try to get involved with the community. So I was like, Dynasty Santa, let's go for it. So kind of a goofy origin story, but
Yeah, that's hilarious. And yeah, I get where that's from because when I used to live with a few of my a few guys, Sunday was always on the couch, hungover, watching
Mhm.
football. Sometimes we'd always have friends that partied with us the night before, staying over and just passing out
Mhm.
on the couch. So I get that. So yeah, we
Yes.
both work. So how long have you worked for IDP Guys?
I think I came on the 20 is either 2018 or 2019 season. I can't remember. I was starting to get involved on Twitter and stuff, and saw Nate put out a post. Got involved. I remember my very first article was how it was whatever the year Jordan Howard first signed with the Eagles, and I wrote about how he was going to be like finishing as like a top 12 running back that year. So massive fail from the very start, with my very first article. But so yeah, it's been a few years. Kind of went through some peaks and valleys, but trying to be full steam ahead with the team now. So still doing some writing, ranking, editing, and just this season, I got the position as the content manager. So trying to help everyone else along with their journeys in the fantasy space, and just work with people on topics and help them get articles structured and all that fun stuff. I really enjoy that. I thought I enjoyed writing the most, and I still really do love writing. But I think I enjoy like helping other people, break out their creative juices on top of things, and doing the editing and a lot of the like behind the scenes type stuff too.
Yeah, I think you've done a great job so far. Just putting out
Thank you.
ideas and everything, especially since we've been bringing in so many more people. And
Mm,
back to the dynasty scene, I think that's a good way to identify yourself since we have so many Steves on staff. There, it's like
yes.
I'm like, where are they? I don't know. I think I know one Steve like my whole life, and like growing up, anything. And I'm like,
Yeah,
where are all these Steves coming from? I was
that's
like, I guess
funny.
they don't show up in Florida or something. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're up to like three now, I think. And
yeah,
hey, the more the merrier.
yeah, and I know your favorite team is the Eagles. So
Yeah.
um, so yeah, just before we get into anything else, how do you feel about the Eagles last year? Um, and how do you feel about Sirianni? Because I'm not a huge Sirianni fan, to be honest. I know they made it to the playoffs, but I think
Right.
it was a little bit of smoke and mirrors, But I wanted to get
Definitely.
your opinion.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. How do I feel? Right. The beginning of the season started a little rough. And then we had some success and kind of limped into the playoffs. I think most Eagles fans, had a realistic view of what was going to happen there, which was lose in the very first round. Um, you know, and that's where it's like you talk about, do you want to be stuck in this like middle of the pack purgatory? And that's kind of just how I feel, gut feeling, with this team right now and with Sirianni. I mean, I don't know. He's got to, the defense needs to be figured out. He needs to get a new coordinator in there. That was a huge problem. The offense kind of got going at times, but they were still way too inconsistent. And I like Hurts as a person. I think he's a great leader, but I think he's destined to be, he'll probably, I hope he has a 10, 15-year career in this league, but I think it's going to be primarily as a backup. I don't think he's quite got the chops to be a starter. So we need to figure that out as well, at the most important position.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people's opinion too. Hurts is good in fantasy, with the rushing. But I mean,
Right.
obviously, there's a lot to be desired. I don't necessarily know if Sirianni has an offense that like showcases him the best way. So we'll
Exactly.
see. Maybe they'll. I think it was the playoff game or it was one game I was watching where Devonta Smith didn't get a pass to like the third or fourth quarter, and
Yeah.
once he got
that
it,
was
he went for like 20 yards, and I was just like, that can't happen.
that was incredibly frustrating going through Devonta Smith's season. Even though he still ended up, finishing the year with really good stats. But Sirianni, former wide receiver coach. I was on the fence of the Smith pick. I'm all in now. I think it was a great pick. He needs to figure out the rest of the room though. He needs to either get Rieger, his mental straight, because the talent I still believe in is there, but there's just something going on up here that
I'm all out. I'm all
You're
out.
all out.
Because the reason is when he was coming out as a rookie with the Eagles, the whole thing is they didn't have any wide receivers, so they got Rieger, this high prospect. So like everyone was in. I drafted him over Justin Jefferson in one league, and
now
I just
you're butthurt.
Well, that and it's just like he definitely mentally, I think he's not strong in that sense, and he doesn't seem like too strong on the field. I actually think Quez Watkins has played better.
Yeah.
He seems stronger, catching the ball and everything. And it seems like they have to manufacture so many things with the Rieger. It's like that's not what you want with a first round pick. So who knows? They might figure it out. But yeah, there's been people trying to trade me Rieger, and I was like, even like it was dirt cheap, and I was like, I don't want this. I would rather have some other, some other piece. But yeah, it'll be interesting with the Eagles. I actually watched a bunch of Eagles games because this podcast is very big Kenny Gainwell fans. So
okay.
Yeah, so we've loved him from the start. We've done some breakdowns of his game, and I was disappointed on how he was used certain times too. I hope they use him more. Because you were talking about Jordan Howard. There was that game where Jordan Howard came. I was like, why is Jordan?
Where did that come from?
Yeah, I was like, where is Jordan Howard? Like, I could understand the Boston Scott part. I get that. And then I was like, Jordan Howard. I was like, why does he keep on showing up places?
It was very strange because Gainwell was vulturing from Miles Sanders earlier in the year, touches and touchdowns, getting, a lot of plays that I think Sanders would have been perfectly capable of handling. And then when Sanders went out there, I think it was that first game, he didn't record a touch, Gainwell. It was all Boston Scott and all Jordan Howard, and that was very confusing. So, the talks are, Miles Sanders' contract coming up. I think, is it this year or next year? It might be.
It's next year.
Yeah, I think it's next year.
I think Boston Scott is up, I want to say. But Sanders, I think, isn't until 2023.
So yeah, Gainwell's like a guy like I'd love to. He's the kind of guy you want to target as like throw-in pieces if you're making bigger trades and whatnot. He's a great stash and throw-in piece that I'd be trying to get as much as possible for probably not this year, but maybe the year after.
No, definitely. So that's enough Eagles talk. So we'll move on. We'll actually move on to someone very well. So Carson Wentz got traded to the Commanders.
Commanders.
Used to call them the Commanders. I didn't see that coming at all. I guess they struck out,
Yeah.
on getting Russ.
Right.
So, um, so what are your feelings on Carson Wentz?
I mean, it's going to be fun to have him back in the division. I like it for the Eagles' defense a lot. I had to have his back while he was here, but it's yeah, pretty. It smells like a lot of desperation there for the Commanders. They apparently they had a better offer, but the Seahawks didn't want to keep him in the NFC, which is weird. If that was the case, if they could have gotten a better offer, I don't. It's not your division; it's just your conference. So don't really understand that, but whatever. So I guess they settled for Wentz. Kind of a humongous red flag, if you ask me, that he couldn't make it work in Indy with his former OC Frank Reich there. I mean, I think that speaks volumes to the arc that Wentz is headed right now. So, if he stays healthy, there's weapons there in Washington. Maybe he, hangs around that QB 12 to 15 range, but I think we've seen his peak at this point, that magical year for the Eagles. And he's going to have big games and he's going to have dud games. Like he's going to continue to be one of the most inconsistent quarterbacks in fantasy, unfortunately, with the change of scenery or not.
Definitely, and this really I'm more interested in the Terry McLaurin part because I love Scary Terry, and last year one of our hot takes was I said he was going to be a top 5 receiver. That didn't happen. Early on, it looked like my quarterback play, was not good. So
yeah.
I mean, I think Wentz could do that. It's very interesting for me what they did. I would hope if I was a Commanders fan, I would hope they're still going to draft someone maybe in the second, third round, just in case. Maybe like a Ritter or something like that.
High upside guy.
Yeah, because I don't know. It's very interesting. I almost would have tried just waited till free agency and maybe got like Mariota or something because I would much rather have had him because at least he can run.
Mariota, Trubisky, Jameis. There's a handful of pretty good options that are honestly probably better.
Jameis with Scary Terry. Oh, that would have been that would have been the best. But yeah, I don't probably hurts. I've seen people say it probably hurts McKissick a little bit because it doesn't seem like Wentz throws to the running backs that much. But I would as long as he throws to Terry, and I guess if you have Wentz, you can play him in that second quarterback spot. But just know there's going to be games where he throws clunkers, like game 16 last year against the Jags, where I think that's where it all went. It seems like once they lost that game, the Colts were out because of how bad he played, which he did play horrible. So,
and you're never going to predict it either. That was a good matchup for him, and he stunk. He's going to be the most frustrating guy ever. It's really a shame that Terry didn't get that Fitzy thrown to him. I mean, I don't know why Washington wouldn't just keep Heineke as a backup. He was okay. It seems he knows the system. He can operate at least, without killing you. So maybe they'll keep him as a backup and draft someone, but Wentz is certainly not the long-term option. I do kind of like it for John Bates, my man. I'm a big John Bates guy over Logan Wilson. I think he's another guy we've seen his I think we're going to have seen his contribution to the fantasy world. So I'm a big John Bates guy. And then screw J.D. McKissick. I hate that guy. He's a thorn in my side with all my Antonio Gibson shares.
Oh, trust me.
Couldn't care less.
All right. Just small rant. So with McKissick, I get he's like, if he's the passing back, I get that. I like if he was catching like all these like long touch, but they bring him in with like at the 3 to like get goal line carries, and
because
it's not even
third down.
Yeah, I'm like, this doesn't make any
sense.
Who
cares? Yes.
And it's not like Gibson can't catch. So I don't even. I don't understand. I don't understand. It makes me so mad. But like Rivera kind of done this before he got CMC when he had Stewart and D'Angelo Williams. Even though both are good. So I think Antonio Gibson could be like a top 8 running back if they would just let him get the ball more. But
Yes, give him the high value touches like that. The red zone touches, the goal line touches. I don't understand why McKissick is in the game at those points. It's just baffling. Like,
and then you're talking about your first article. My first article with IDB guys, I talked about Fitzpatrick, going to Washington. I hyped up like Curtis Samuel, who was like hurt all year, and so
right,
so
right,
so I didn't feel your pain on your first article just being a total bust.
right. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, now we'll go to the big one. I'm sure this is talked about a lot, but Russ to the Broncos.
yeah.
I didn't see this coming. For all I heard, Russ was going to stay. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so so Russ to the Broncos. Obviously, well now there's rumors that Seattle did this because they're going to make a push for Watson. I don't know if that's going to
Right.
happen. That would be
Mm-hmm.
crazy, but
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, let's start off with the Seahawks. One thing that upset me a little bit because if I didn't get tight ends early, I got like Gerald Everett everywhere.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
because he was like a fine, 12 to 15 tight end, and with
Mm-hmm.
Fant there,
He's
he's
yeah.
non-existent. So that does
Mm-hmm.
help Fant. I don't know whoever their quarterback is. Um, yeah. And well, how do you feel about DK and Lockett for the Seahawks? I think it hurts Lockett more. I think DK is just kind
Yes.
of a guy they're just going to throw it to, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely Wilson had good chemistry with Lockett.
Yeah, totally agree that it hurts Lockett more. Um, I was already dropping him just due to his age. Um, and it depends who ends up there. But, for people doing that happen to be doing startups right now, I would definitely probably be staying away unless he falls to a certain point, like in the, late teens or 20 rounds. I would grab him for sure. DK, I dropped only a little bit behind a couple people. Like I put him behind Deontay. And I think one or two more guys in that cluster. So I'm not dropping him too far. I'm not trying to overreact too much, but just basing on the information we have now, which is Drew Lock is the quarterback, it obviously hurts the whole offense.
Oh yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think I had DK around 7. I dropped him maybe like 3 or 4 spots, still like
Okay.
near end of the first wide receiver one, just
Mm-hmm.
because he even had an off year last year with Russ. So I would,
Yes.
and part of that I think is just that offense they run there, which is another thing I wanted to bring up. So do you think
Mm-hmm.
the Seahawks are already wanting to run the ball more? You would think if they stay with Drew
Mm-hmm.
Lock, I would think they would run the ball even more, so that if they keep
Yeah.
Penny, that would be a big uptick on him if he
Mm-hmm.
could stay healthy.
Yeah, everybody that cashed in on Penny last year might be able to let it ride for this year. Um, I'm totally out on Carson. I won't have any of him again unless he falls to just some ridiculous value. A neck injury to a running back like that, taking all the pounding, that's not a great sign. I think he's probably done or close to done. Penny seems to be on the upswing with his health. Finally stayed healthy and was toting the rock quite a bit. So I definitely think all the Penny people maybe don't quite sell yet. I know that was the big trend once the season finished was to sell, sell, sell. But I think you let it ride for this year.
Definitely. And on the Denver side, it's interesting because I personally think that I think the way I did it, I said Sutton was going to be. I moved Sutton higher up than Judy. I moved
Like
both of
that.
them up, but I moved
Right. Okay.
Sutton up a lot from where I had him
Yeah.
before in our rankings. Just because I didn't know, and I think Russ. I think both of them are definitely top 30 receivers now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even higher, just depending. And I think it probably helps Javante too, because
Mm-hmm.
if they move the ball better, he'll get more attempts. I'm hoping they let Melvin Gordon go, so he
Yes.
stops getting
Everyone
those
is.
carries. But who knows? Because Hackett was in Green Bay and he used 2 running backs, so it might be another
Right.
running back. But I think everyone's hoping for that uptick on Javante.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you, how high do you think Javante's ceiling is? Because I've had some people try to trade me Javante, and they're saying he's like a top 4 back. I'm not willing to say that yet. So
No.
I'd say like
Well,
top 10, but the
right.
value they're wanting, because someone was pretty much saying he's like the same value as Justin Jefferson to me, and I was like, no,
That's a little
absolutely,
much.
absolutely not.
I think that's his ceiling. Certainly can be cracking that top 5. I still don't think he'll ever be worth flipping for Justin Jefferson. That would just be he would have to have some he would have to have some Jonathan Taylor seasons in a row to make that happen. And I don't know. They're just that's a very rare thing. So, but I certainly think that could be his ceiling. But I'm much more on the realistic side of him, putting him in that like 8 to 12-ish range in Dynasty. He'd probably go really early in redraft. There's going to be, especially if Gordon leaves, there will be plenty of people in redraft who take a shot at him within the first 5 or 6 picks. Guarantee that. But in Dynasty, hopefully people are, a little more realistic, but still like back end of the first, early second pick, something like that.
No, definitely, yeah. So yeah, let's see. I think that's it. I mean, Albert O. I'm not gonna try to pronounce his last name, but
Yeah,
I moved him up too, but
yeah,
not a ton because we don't really know what that would be. And
I know.
Russ has really never thrown to tight ends a ton, and the
Right.
Packers have never really featured tight ends, so I don't know what that will really look like. But definitely, I have some friends that are Broncos fans, and they're very happy. But just talk about the
It's I was just gonna say it's the nature of when a trade like this happens. I mean, this is a pretty unprecedented trade, so it's kind of the rising all ships type analogy with Wilson coming there. I'm a fan of Alberto's profile. I am trying to stay. I love tight ends, so I love to try to find that guy, that deep guy. But I'm trying to stay realistic and not jet him up. I've seen him crack into people's top 12 or something like that. And
ugh.
yeah, that's a little hasty for me. But I do love the profile. Would be excited if he had a really good year.
Yeah, I've seen some people kind of go both ways. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the exact what the trade was, but I know it was 2 firsts. I think it was 2 seconds and like a third or maybe 2 thirds. So who do you think? Which do you think the Broncos overpaid, or do you think it's fine since they're getting that quarterback for let's say like 5 6 years?
Right. Yeah, because quarterbacks are playing a lot longer. I don't think it was an overpay. I think it was an extremely fair deal for both sides. Like I said, apparently Washington may have had better, like maybe 3 firsts or something like that. That's like the rumors. I don't know if they've been substantiated or not, but I think it was an extremely fair deal for both sides. You could say Denver maybe overpaid a little bit, but to get a guy like Russell Wilson and surrounded with the offensive talent that they have there, I think it was a brilliant move on their part. So no, I don't. I think it was perfectly fair for both,
I agree too because they've tried to draft quarterbacks
and they
and they
stink
haven't
at
been
it.
successful. So it's kind of like, it's fine to
Mm-hmm.
keep those picks, but I mean, if you're not going to, and look at that division, you got Herbert, you got Mahomes,
Yeah.
even Derek Carr. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they had to get someone that could compete with them, which I am super excited to see all those guys
Yes.
play against each other. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Derek Carr's
Good.
continue to not get respect in that division, probably
Poor
for good
Derek Carr,
reason.
man.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Derek Carr. I think he's a
Yeah.
good quarterback. Obviously, he's not elite. I think he's better than people make, and I'm
Yeah.
very interested in him too with what he'll do with McDaniels because
Mm-hmm.
the second time around for McDaniels as a coach. So this trade was very interesting. I'm wondering if any other kind of trades will be happening, but definitely right after the combine, there's the buzz of the
Mm-hmm.
combine, and then
Oh
this.
yeah.
So we'll break in before we talk about the combine. We'll break into our fun topic we have every
Ah,
week.
sweet.
So yeah. So this week we're doing top 3 favorite video games all time, any platform. Have you always been big into video games like your whole life?
Yeah, from a kid up until my like early 20s, I kind of fell off I think my last system was a PS3. either 3 or 4. Yeah, no, 3. I'm pretty sure. That was my last major system buy. So that's around the time I kind of fell off. But prior to that, yeah, had all I was a big Dreamcast guy before it was
Oh
popular.
yeah.
Yeah, see, and that's where a couple of one of my picks comes from. So yeah, I'm consider myself grew up as a big video game guy. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I would say I played more different kinds of video games up until maybe like midway through high school, and then it was probably like just like sports
Yes.
games from
Yep.
then on. A little bit of Halo and everything,
Okay.
but I'm horrible at those kind of games, like
Yeah.
Halo and Call of Duty. Like I play
Mhm.
with my friends, and I can get shots off, but like I always aim at like the wrong part of the
Yeah.
body, so like I get
I
one
always
shot
had
off and then
trouble
they
with
kill
that
me.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah. You think, and I always used to like to hide. Like I used to like to try to be the sniper, but then I could never kill anybody, and people would always find me and kill me quickly. So I'm like, all right, I'm over it.
yeah, definitely. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. I'll say one, and then you can say one. I didn't necessarily rank mine, so these are just
Ah,
three. So first
gotcha.
is the original Nintendo Ninja Turtle game.
Oh,
Like I love that. Me and my dad used to play that all the time. It was tons of fun. Like I was huge into Ninja Turtles when I was younger.
hell yeah.
We bought all the toys. We had the
Me
the the van,
too.
the van with the pizza
Yes.
thrower and everything.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So my mom would get mad when she got home sometimes because we'd put it all out,
It
like
was
the
all
whole
over the
living
place.
room, and like it was dust. And like
Yeah.
right as she's walking in the door, we both would yell, "We're gonna clean up later."
Yeah.
So and it'd be shooting the little pizza. So I love Ninja
That's
Turtles,
awesome.
and yeah, that's one of my favorite. It was an awesome game, and even when I finally beat it, I just started over and wanted to beat it again.
So wait, and this is the from original NES, the
Yes,
cartridge game, not the
yes,
arcade game, right? Because
right,
you beat that game because that's
yes,
insane. That game was so hard. I could
it
never get
was.
past the damn swimming level with the bombs and all that and the
Oh
little
yeah.
electrocute things. Couldn't get past that and would get. I
Yes.
had the worst temper as a little kid. Like I would get so mad, throw the controller and all that. Like oh man, that game was tough. So that's impressive if you actually beat it. um, I guess so. My first one I'll go with is a nice little throwback to well, it started playing it on PC, the original Grand Theft Auto from the bird's eye view, where your guy was like this big and you're driving around in the car from the bird's eye view doing all the missions. That was like one of my favorite games because my buddy had it at his house, so we would always go over and play there. And then I eventually finally got my mom to allow me to get it, and it was just so much fun. Then of course it evolved to what we have today, which is awesome. But that original with the bird's eye view on the PC was just my favorite. Like getting all the codes and stuff, and the sounds and everything was just my one of my favorites.
Yeah, definitely. So my next one is it's either, regular system or, the arcade game, but NBA
Mhm.
Jam, I love it, the heating up and all that is so much fun that was probably one of the first like sports games I really like got into a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in elementary school when my friends had it and we'd always go over and play it. And we were
Mhm.
actually in Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and there's a brewery, and they had the
Yeah.
NBA Jam arcade like in there. I was like, this is like the best place ever. So yeah,
Yeah.
NBA Jam is definitely one of my favorite games.
Who was your team?
Let me think.
I know I would spread it out sometimes,
Yeah,
but I'll give you
I think I played with the Suns a lot.
okay,
I think that was like
Barkley.
with like Kevin Johnson
Oh,
and
Kevin Johnson.
Barkley.
Yeah, okay, nice. I like it. I yeah, so I saw you put that down on the show sheet, and I was pissed. I was gonna say you stole that from me because that's a classic. It's one of my all-time favorites. On the arcade, there's no better way to do it with the 4 panels. Grab some buddies. My team was the Magic, and I used my man Scotty Skiles dropping threes all day long with the comeback and all that, and the Horace Grant scooping up all the rebounds and throwing down the dunks. It was the perfect yin and yang team. The Orlando Magic, let's go NBA
Oh,
Jam.
nice, nice.
So yeah, that's classic. So I'll match that from an arcade game perspective with I went with NFL Blitz, a an I mean, one of a kind. It hasn't really been done since, which is mystifying to me because that game was just so damn cool. Had all the stars of the late '90s, and it was NFL on crack, where you could just beat the crap out of the other team. The play would be over if you remember, and then they let you run around for an extra like 5 seconds, and you could do like almost like wrestling moves, like swanton bombs and gorilla presses, and just kick the shit out of your guy while he was on the ground. It was awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know how I forgot about that, but when I saw it on the sheet, I was like, oh, great call, because when I was
Yeah.
younger, my brother didn't even like football, but he would play it just because you could hit people afterwards. And I don't know if you ever, yeah,
Go
I don't
ahead.
know if you've ever done it like on the actual 64, but if you push a lot of buttons like on it, and it'll make like you have like a big head and stuff.
Oh, that's
So
right. There was the codes for
yeah,
that stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That's
that
right.
was
That's right.
cool and everything. So yeah, so now I will go into my last one. This was hard. Pretty much anything from Mario I really liked, but the one I picked was Super Mario Brothers. I liked it once you could start getting Yoshi in there and everything, and that was the big for me. But I like pretty much all of those Mario games. We played a lot of those growing up.
Yeah, that's a classic right there, Mario. Yeah, I was my biggest one was when I got the SNES, and it came with the Mario game. I always would play that for hours and hours and hours trying to beat it, and I stunk at it. But my last one was I started playing it on the Dreamcast, and then when I got Xbox, I immediately bought it. A fighting game called Soul Calibur 2. It was just a very fantastical fighting game with the characters, and my favorite guy was Kilik. He had this like bow staff thing where you could just basically button mash, and he would do all these cool ass moves with this like bow, and it was awesome because I never really was great at remembering the moves, so I was kind of a button masher. But he was my favorite to do that because he had the coolest moves where you could just smash all the buttons. And the soundtrack was awesome.
Definitely. There were so many other games I thought of. One honorable mention for me is the X-Men arcade game.
Oh, good call.
Yeah, because there's a mall by my parents' house where they had an arcade. They don't have it anymore. And like my birthday for like 4 straight years, we just go to the mall, get pizza, and then go to
Yeah,
the arcade. And we would always play the X-Men game over and over again.
that's a good call. Well, and then that's why I asked you about the Ninja Turtles because the Ninja Turtles arcade was pretty sweet too.
Oh
It
yeah,
was the four
definitely.
player.
That was
All
good. That
those
was good too.
all those 4 player arcade games were awesome. Simpsons. I don't know if I can think of any more at the moment, but and then the sports games and all that. But
Yeah.
yeah, anything that had 4 like players to the game was usually an awesome arcade game.
Definitely, yeah. So yeah, that's what we try to have a fun segment like that every week.
Nice.
So now we'll go into combine talk. So, did you get to watch most of the combine or enough of it?
Mostly highlights on Twitter.
Okay,
I
all right.
didn't
We'll
sit
just
down to watch, but I got, I'm aware of like a lot of the results and was seeing a lot of the clips on Twitter for sure.
okay, yeah. So, I don't think the combine really showed much. Let's see if I can make this bigger. There we
Yeah,
go.
right. I feel like there was a handful of guys that probably played themselves or tested themselves into a higher round or two and hopefully made themselves a couple extra $1,000,000, but there wasn't anything like crazy, crazy.
No, and I think a lot of the big name quarterbacks didn't. I mean, I for all these different things they did, I think that 40 is probably the only thing. And I think the only
Hmm.
one that quarterback really, well, I mean, Ritter, he ran pretty fast at
Hmm.
4.5. I think that helps him because his biggest asset right now is his legs. And
Right.
and Pickett didn't run bad, 4.7. That's fine for a quarterback. So I think quarterback wise, it's fine. I didn't really see much with the quarterbacks. Obviously, anytime Malik Willis was on in the combines, they like all went crazy.
Yeah.
About how far he could throw it and all this stuff. So, what's your opinion on Malik Willis?
So Willis, I saw he was getting a lot of good press, right, from his testing and some of his throwing. But then I feel like people were just being biased, showing his good throws. Like there was that one awesome deep throw he had, but then I saw somebody else clip together a bunch of really easy missed throws. So I wanted to be all in on him, and I liked his little clip where he was helping the homeless dude out. Like he seems like he's got great character, and is probably one of the one of those like leader type guys. But I feel like he's gonna end up similar to like a Jalen Hurts. Maybe he probably should go in the second round. Somebody might reach for him in the first this year. So I'm not super high on him like a lot of other people are. Even in Superflex, I wouldn't be taking him first overall, unless he gets like some ridiculous draft capital in the first like top 15 picks or so.
Yeah, even if he gets in the top 15, I don't know if I would take him. I think
Yeah.
I talked to someone. I said if somehow he falls to like 105 or 106, I'd probably take him. But
Yeah.
I'm fine not taking him, especially that high, especially if Brees Hall's there, because
Of course.
let's just go through the running backs. Let's see, so
Yeah, he solidified himself to me as the 101
yeah.
in any format, including
So
Superflex
yeah,
for
so
me.
at 40 time we see I had no idea Brees would run that fast because
Mm,
I the biggest knock on Brees, at least from what I've been hearing, was going to be his speed and has his athleticism, and he looked really good that way. And Kenneth Walker looked very fast, and I actually
yeah,
watched some of the drills today, and I didn't realize Kenneth Walker was such a beast. Like he just his
right,
arms and everything. So I haven't decided yet because he was going to be my running back 3, but
right.
I might move him up to 2 over Spiller
I'm in the
because
same I'm in
Spiller
the same
didn't do
exact boat
great.
with you. Yeah, he didn't run. He and yeah, I'm in the same boat with the athletic testing there. I think Walker just earned his spot right behind Brees there.
And then just some of the drills they did, the catching. I know it's not big, but his hands seemed, he seemed to catch the ball well. I've always said that I don't think he can't catch. I just don't think Michigan State threw to running backs, and that's what has been my argument. I know the analytics side, don't like when they don't have, a certain threshold for receiving, but
Hmm.
he's one. And then another player a couple of these players I didn't think would run this fast. Ty Chandler from North Carolina, 4.38. I didn't think he would run this
Hmm.
fast. And some players, and Tyler Goodson, I was listening to the combine and they were really, hyping him up, and he looked good, catching the ball. He ran a
Hmm.
4.42, and I guess I just consider Iowa just like slow team, just
Right, plotting.
yeah. But I mean, he shows some speed. Um, and actually, before the magazine, I wrote something up on Jerome Ford, and I thought he
Oh,
looked pretty
cool.
good. I think he'll be in that spot. I think there's the top 3, and then everyone after that is in a clump to me. I don't know who's going to break
Yeah,
out. I think Ford could be one. Sean White, a couple that I was a little disappointed in of their speed, like Ely from Miss Ole
yeah,
Miss. He's a
yeah.
smaller guy, so I mean, I don't think to me, that's not fast enough if he's going to make it, because he's going to have to
Hmm.
rely, I think he's faster on the football field, but I was a little surprised
Right.
by that. I'm trying to see Damian Pierce from Florida. A lot of people have been hyping him up.
All
Thought
right.
he
Yeah,
thought he would be faster.
yeah.
And yeah, a lot of people thought Algier would run faster too. So
Yeah, he was and where all the way at the bottom there, a lot of people's boy Kyron Williams really
oh yeah,
disappointed a lot of people.
he
He was probably
killed
the biggest
himself.
bust. Yeah, he was probably
Yeah,
the
I
biggest
don't.
disappointment, right?
Yeah, I mean, whoever gave him advice to run gave him
He
bad.
should have gone the spiller route.
Yeah, I mean, because
Just skip it.
a lot of people are putting him up, and I think he still looked good in drills. But I mean, that 40 time is not going to kill him, but that probably pushes him
Yeah.
down to day 3 or late third
Which
round.
kills him for fantasy unless he, gets an opportunity through injuries and
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, because people were starting to think that maybe he could be, at least the 1B in a running back committee.
Right.
But with this, it's probably going to be more of a third down back, because he's a good blocker. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely it was interesting on that. And then also they didn't run like all the three cone drills because I think they're going to have to change the combine how they just do it all in one day because all the players are complaining
Ah,
about having to run like late at night since they're doing
right.
all of it
Yeah, that
at
was a
night.
weird. When I saw the schedule, I was like, "Why is it going so late?"
Yeah, it's all for TV, but still, it's
Right. It's
you
lame.
know,
And and that's why you take all this stuff with a grain of salt. The running back speed and speed scores are probably are one of the more important things, but beyond that, I mean, there's not a lot that the combine really tells us, honestly. I do like the Georgia boys in the middle there, James Cook and Zamir White. I wanted to call them both out because they're probably going to be back to back for me in the running back like 4, 5, 6 range. Zamir, the more traditional first and second down guy with high touchdown upside, kind of like a Damian Harris. And Cook, uh, he can run the ball as well, but a little smaller, a little shiftier. That profiles as that receiving third down back who, if injuries go in front of him, maybe he gets a shot to run the ball some. So kind of like that James White type guy. So I'm in on both of them if I can get them, honestly.
yeah. I think too. I need to look more into them, especially Zamir White. I
Mm-hmm.
was impressed with James Cook. Late in the season, about some of those Georgia games. Do you think James Cook could ever turn into like an Austin Eckler?
Absolutely. That's a great comp, actually. Yeah, I think he could. I like him a lot.
Yeah, because if you think about Eckler was splitting time with Gordon the first couple of years,
Mhm.
with the Chargers, and then he broke out. But they're all, they're all Chargers are always going to have another back that gets a lot of carries since he's a smaller type guy. So, but definitely, I think both of those are moving up. So now look at the wide receivers. This was the crazy part. All the time.
Everyone goes nuts for the speed.
Yeah, crazy times.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys at the top, I will say I like Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah.
Not as like a probably top 10 top. He's going to be like the sleeper guy, but I think at least his speed
Yeah.
it got his a little notoriety for him.
Yeah.
Um, I know Calvin Austin like ran fast in like everything. Um,
Mhm.
Christian Watson,
My,
everyone's like,
he's the one I wanted to talk about. Yeah.
yeah, let's
I
talk a little bit about him.
Yeah, I think he might have tested himself because not only his 40 time, but his other drills led to a ridiculous athletic score altogether when you total everything up. So he may play himself even into the late first, early second round. And if he does get that kind of draft capital, I mean, he could be. He could be rookie wide receiver 3. That's probably his ceiling, and I think he deserves it. And I think, if he gets that draft capital, it's wheels up for me on him.
Definitely, yeah. It kind of throws a wrench in like the top 5 wide receivers now because a lot of
It
people have
does.
those. And now, yeah, because some of like Jameson Williams has that injury. I mean, he's fast, but he's
Yep.
had coming in. Drake London wasn't able to run, and that's the biggest thing on him. How fast is he?
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if
Mm-hmm.
he falls at all. And I the thing that the only thing that really changed my ranks during the whole combine was I have Chris Olave as wide receiver 4, I think, and I might
Mm-hmm.
move him up to 3 over Jameson Williams just because I didn't realize he would run that fast. And I think it hurt him that he was on such a good team. If you put him on like
Yeah.
a nut, like if you switch, like say Drake London and him, and he was the only like weapon on USC, and he like put up those numbers, he'd probably be like higher thought of,
Right.
you know.
True.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, and I know there's some people talking up Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati. I didn't know much about
Right.
him, but people have been
Yeah. He's
talking
on the
about
map.
him.
He's
Yeah,
on the map now. Hey, with Olave, I almost wanted to. That almost scared me. I was like, he almost ran too fast. That I almost want to fade him now because just looking back historically at the monsters in fantasy, they all are in that like 4.5, 4.6, high 4.4 range. Like you don't need to be a burner to be. Yes, you could still have relevancy, but I don't. I almost wanted to like fade him.
I
Half
get that.
joking.
Yeah, no, but I get that because look at the burners. they've had good seasons, like Deshaun Jackson for the Eagles. He had good seasons,
Right.
but I mean, it's pretty much like three pass. You're hoping he gets that long pass. It's not like he's
Right.
catching like 8 to 10 passes, like
Hmm.
like Keenan Allen type players or something who didn't run that fast.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, just looking through some of these others.
Oh,
Um,
Sky Moore. Don't skip over Sky Moore.
oh yeah, I'm a big Sky Moore fan, but I will tell you when I watched his tape, he didn't look as fast as his 40. So maybe
Yeah.
that's just I don't know. Who really knows? But yeah, that he tested really well too.
Well, that's the big debate on Twitter, right? These 40 times versus the guy's game speed, what they're getting clocked at in game. There's a couple people doing that, using like the frames and then having them reach like high 21, even 22 miles an hour. So like, I take more stock into that honestly than running with no pads in a straight line at a combine. You know what I mean? So I take these with a grain of salt. Yeah, it's kind of playing the fast guys who came out of nowhere, like they're on the radar versus like trying to dismiss guys that we like who maybe didn't run as fast, but I don't know. That's just kind of how I look at it.
No, I agree. Pretty much, it just kind of splits like close ties, like I said with Olave,
Good,
same as,
exactly.
and then like
That's the
sleepers,
way.
like yeah, like I said, Thornton is a sleeper I have, but just kind of
Hmm.
confirmation that he gets his name out there, that maybe he gets a little more hype,
Hmm.
not like top 10, obviously, but
Yeah.
one player that I really like his tape, but I was disappointed overall at how he did was Wandale Robinson out of Kentucky.
Right. Yes, I know. I saw him being touted as kind of a disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously the 40 is not bad, but in some of the drills I watched, he kind of juggled the ball, and he was the type of guy that you really wanted to see him perform well athletically, in the offense.
Everywhere.
Yeah, because he's
Yeah.
not very big, so you're
Right.
really banking on
That's the
athleticism.
problem. Yeah, he'll probably be a faller.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think who. Yeah, I'm very interested in George Pickens because he's had the
Yes.
injuries, but I think
Right.
he has the profile of being an alpha, and I think actually
Mhm.
I really want him to fall to the second round to the Jags, so like they could get a wide receiver there, and he could be like a
Mhm.
number one wide receiver. I mean, it's a little bit of a risk reward because he could be a flop because he's missed time and you don't really see enough. There's
Right.
been some people that say he takes, plays off, but I mean, a lot of wide, they used to say that about Randy Moss too. And
Yeah.
I'm not comparing him to Randy Moss, but I'm just saying,
Those
I need to
narratives
always
are,
remember
yeah,
that. Yeah,
they're tough to buy into at this time of the year. And yeah, he just needs to go somewhere where he's not being counted on to step in immediately, like a Jamar Chase and produce.
right.
He needs to go somewhere in a deeper wide receiver room where he can maybe take his time and still heal. Also, coming from Georgia, that's not exactly a high flying. High
Definitely.
volume
That's what I
passing
like to
offense.
talk
So
about too. Yeah,
yeah, so he's gonna look worse from analytics and tape if he's taking, but yeah, probably because he knew it was a running play that was running away from him. So like, who cares? So I don't know. Yeah, I really like him too as a and he's probably going to be a value because everyone's scared of the injury.
definitely. So just kind of wrapping up on this, I actually think running backs and wide receivers are very deep. They're not necessarily as many
Yeah,
elite top, especially running backs, pretty much just
right.
Brees. But I think you're going to find guys in like that get drafted around like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 that could provide some fantasy value. So I think the rookie
Mm,
drafts in Dynasty in round 3 and 4 are even more important this year to like try to find the right guys because I think some of these guys could go that late and still, show up on some of these teams.
yeah, and one guy to call out, not combine related, because he's coming off major injury issues, but Justin Ross out of Clemson. He was a Devy wide receiver one for years, for probably 2 years in a row when he was younger, and then he ran into some really unfortunate injuries. I think one in his neck or back, something like that. but man, he's got the talent. So if he can get himself healthy and get in a good situation, he's a great stash to grab in the third. Maybe even you get him in the fourth round and you just sit on him and he'll get his chance. And I think he could provide some amazing return on investment.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Justin Ross because he's a very polarizing player too, especially in the Devi community, because there's some that just keep on saying, well, see what he did. And then there's some saying, well, but this is what we have, last year after the injury. I will be interested to see, I mean, they say he's healthy, but, healthy and like what the NFL, says medically are not always the same thing. So, but that's another good call because really in that third and fourth round, you're trying to get some upside guys that probably aren't going to play right away, but can possibly help your team later on. And I know a lot of the tight ends did not run, but there's not a lot of great tight ends like Kyle Pitts this year. But I think there's a lot of tight ends
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
could come into fantasy relevance.
It's kind of deep too, just like the wide receivers. Like there's no
Yes,
super
definitely.
elite, but I feel like it's pretty deep too. Just quick back, Ross is probably going to go, don't you think, in like maybe the third or hopefully he stays in the third or fourth round in the NFL draft. So just don't be scared off by that. If that happens, if he goes later, then I get a little bit worried. But if he can, if somebody takes a chance on him in the third or fourth, I'm very happy with that, and I'm grabbing him in rookie drafts. But yeah, tight end. So yeah, the first guy there, Chig, kind of put himself on the map with his 40, right?
Yeah,
Kind of like an
I didn't even know about
Neither did
him.
I. I didn't know about him either. So,
Yeah.
so that yeah, he'll be on my radar. Who else do I like it? Oh, the UCLA, the Greg with the mustache,
Oh, yeah.
Dulcich, yeah, or
Yeah.
however you say it.
Yeah. They were really Jeremiah was really talking him up too. So
Mhm. Everyone likes Likely, right? He's one of the top guys, and
yeah.
McBride. Did McBride test and all that? I don't think
I
know
don't
if I
think
remember seeing his numbers.
he didn't run, but I think he did some
Okay.
other things. I think the same
Okay.
with Likely didn't run.
Okay.
I'll say one player that he's actually one of the profiles I'm working on right now for the magazine. Cole
Oh,
Turner
cool.
out of Nevada.
Ooh.
He's not your traditional tight end. Has bulked up. He's very inconsistent in how he blocks, but I think technique
Mm,
he can be an all right blocker.
nice.
Kind of like Jimmy Graham was. He kind of turned into
Mm,
like he could block, and he's a guy that probably won't play a ton right away, but he's going to be a guy that can get big chunks, be a good guy in the red zone because he's good in jump
mm.
balls and he has amazing hands. He's one and one call, yeah, Jake Ferguson. They were talking about him from Wisconsin.
Yes, I
Um,
like it.
and it's kind of the same thing, with Pickens. They don't throw a ton in
Mm,
Wisconsin. He's mostly, but
right.
he's going to be a great blocker. So if you
Yeah.
can, if you see the ability at least,
Get on
um,
the field.
yeah. So I think tight end's biggest thing is most of the time, unless you're like the Kyle Pitts, the receiving type, you just want
Yeah.
someone that is a good blocker that you could see some ability to catch the ball and you can get on the field, kind of like a Dawson Knox. It took him a
Yeah.
couple years, but he kind of exploded on the scene.
I mean, look at the tight ends that pop too that aren't the elite ones, right? They're not burners. They're plotting guys who have good hands who can get open. They don't run for 4, 4, 5 even. They're on the look at Austin Hoopers of the world. I mean Jack Doyle's of the world who just retired.
Oh, he retired?
All Yeah, Jack Doyle retired.
Oh man, he was always
um,
one of my sleeper tight ends.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
I
They
waited,
always
I would always
pop.
get it.
And that's what this class is just full of those guys. They're going to pop for a few games down the road. Probably not many of them are going to take off in year one. So maybe you don't even invest in them via draft and you grab them off waivers at the end of the year, but keep the names in mind, I would say. But yeah, I would find, I'd be pretty surprised if more than one or two kind of go off this year.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that wraps the show up. So Steve,
Cool.
thanks for coming on. It was great.
Yeah.
And yeah, for anyone watching, if you don't subscribe to IDP guys, go ahead and do it. And then also If you don't, you can buy the rookie magazine. It's coming up. I've got quite a few profiles in there and a lot of good stuff in there. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Thanks, man. It's a lot of fun.